If belly fat feels permanent after 50, it is not because you failed. Your body quietly changed biological rules, while advice around you stayed outdated. Most people blame aging, laziness, or weak willpower for stubborn abdominal fat. That explanation feels logical, but it is biologically incomplete and misleading dangerously. After 50, the nervous system becomes the primary gatekeeper of fat storage. When that system senses threat, fat loss is no longer permitted biologically. This is why belly fat behaves differently than fat did earlier in life. The change does not happen overnight, and it does not feel dramatic. It happens quietly through cortisol, sleep fragmentation, and chronic low-grade stress. These signals tell the body survival matters more than burning stored energy. Belly fat is not cosmetic fat. It is emergency reserve fat storage. After 50, the brain becomes far less tolerant of energy instability states. Any crash in blood sugar is treated as a serious biological threat. The response is cortisol, adrenaline, and a shutdown of fat-burning processes. This is why eating less often makes the problem worse, not better. Fasting without nervous system safety increases stress hormones dramatically after midlife years. Walking more does not help if cortisol remains elevated throughout the day. The body interprets constant movement as escape behavior during prolonged stress states. Instead of burning fat, the system protects it more aggressively after 50. This explains why discipline no longer produces results it once delivered easily. Your body is not broken. It is operating under different priorities now. The primary priority after 50 is stability, not aggressive fat loss attempts. When stability is missing, belly fat becomes biologically protected tissue by design. Sleep disruption is the most overlooked trigger keeping this protection active daily. Waking up tired already raises cortisol before the day even begins fully. That morning, cortisol sets the metabolic tone for the entire day ahead. High morning cortisol makes the body defensive about releasing stored fat energy. By afternoon, energy crashes confirm the brain's fear of instability again internally. This leads to repeated cortisol spikes that reinforce belly fat storage patterns. The cycle feels endless because each day trains the next biologically deeper. Most advice ignores this cycle and focuses only on calories and exercise. Calories matter less when the nervous system does not feel safe enough. Safety signals come from sleep, light exposure, rhythm, and recovery patterns daily. Without these signals, fat loss triggers emergency responses instead after midlife years. This is the hidden reason belly fat appears permanent after 50 years. The fat is not stubborn. It is being actively defended by biology. Until the defense system stands down, fat loss cannot proceed safely anywhere. This is where most people give up, believing decline is inevitable now. But decline is not required. Only misinterpretation of biological signals after 50. When signals change, outcomes change faster than most people expect afterward, consistently. The solution does not start with harder effort or stricter discipline alone. It starts with calming the nervous system and restoring energy trust first. Once energy becomes stable, fat loss stops being resisted by the body. This changes everything about how the body responds after 50 years old. Instead of fighting fat, the system allows gradual release over time, naturally. This is why the next steps must focus on regulation, not restriction. In the next section, we will rebuild safety using simple daily protocols. These protocols do not require gyms, fasting, or extreme effort after midlife. They work because they communicate safety directly to the brain consistently daily. And once the brain feels safe, belly fat finally stops hiding away. The first protocol restores sleep quality, not duration, because timing matters more now. After 50, fragmented sleep raises cortisol even if total hours seem sufficient. Waking during the night trains the brain to expect danger repeatedly. Each awakening triggers cortisol pulses that block fat release the following day. The goal is deeper sleep early, not longer sleep later. Light exposure controls this process more than most people realize. Morning darkness confuses the brain about time, raising cortisol unpredictably. Getting outside within 30 minutes of waking sends a powerful safety signal. Natural morning light anchors circadian rhythm and lowers baseline cortisol levels. This single habit dramatically improves nighttime sleep within days. Evening light matters just as much as morning exposure. Bright screens after sunset delay melatonin and fragment deep sleep cycles. This creates morning fatigue, even if bedtime feels early. Dim lighting after sunset helps the nervous system prepare for recovery. Better sleep equals lower cortisol and less belly fat defense. The next protocol addresses afternoon energy crashes directly. These crashes reinforce the brain's belief that energy is unstable. Fighting them with caffeine increases cortisol and worsens sleep later. Instead, use non-sleep deep rest to reset stress safely. NSDR lowers cortisol without knocking you unconscious or causing grogginess. 10 minutes shifts the brain into recovery mode while remaining awake. Dopamine restores naturally, improving motivation and mental clarity afterward. This prevents the afternoon crash from training cortisol spikes daily. Use NSDR before exhaustion fully sets in. Consistency teaches the brain energy will be restored reliably. The final protocol involves walking, but timing matters more than distance. Walking early afternoon reinforces energy stability signals to the brain. Late night walking can elevate cortisol and delay sleep. Short walks after meals improve glucose handling without stress. This prevents blood sugar crashes that trigger emergency cortisol responses. Walking should feel calming, not demanding or exhausting. The nervous system must interpret movement as safety, not escape. Slow pace, nasal breathing, and daylight improve this effect. This retrains fat tissue to release energy gradually. Over time, belly fat loses its protected status. These protocols work together, not separately. Sleep stabilizes cortisol, light anchors rhythm, NSDR restores calm energy. Walking reinforces stability without exhausting the system. Together, they communicate safety to the brain repeatedly. Safety is the prerequisite for fat loss after 50. When safety signals dominate, metabolism stops hoarding fat defensively. Energy becomes predictable instead of crashing unpredictably. Hunger normalizes without force or restriction. Belly fat slowly responds because the threat response ends. This is the shift most people never experience. Fat loss becomes allowed, not forced. The body cooperates instead of resisting every attempt. This is how permanence becomes reversal after 50, not through effort, but through biological trust rebuilt daily. And this sets up the final phase of lasting metabolic recovery. Once metabolic safety is restored, belly fat no longer needs constant biological protection. The body releases stored energy gradually because survival no longer feels threatened. This shift happens quietly, without extreme diets, workouts, or constant self-control. Fat loss becomes a side effect of balance, not a daily battle. That is why chasing fat loss directly almost always fails after 50. The body must feel safe before it ever agrees to let fat go. This is the mistake most programs never explain clearly to older adults. They focus on effort, completely ignoring the nervous system and its signals. After 50, the nervous system decides whether fat loss is permitted biologically. When cortisol stabilizes, insulin improves, sleep deepens, and energy stops crashing daily. These changes compound slowly, creating results that finally feel sustainable long-term. Belly fat responds because the emergency survival state has fully ended internally. This is not rapid weight loss, and that is exactly why it lasts. Lasting change after 50 must respect biology, not fight against it daily. You are not too old, and your metabolism is not broken permanently. It is simply responding to the signals it receives every day now. Change the signals, and the response changes automatically over time, consistently again. This is metabolic alignment, not discipline, motivation, or unnecessary suffering anymore today. When alignment exists, the body releases fat without resistance gradually, naturally again. Energy improves, sleep stabilizes, and daily life feels manageable again, consistently overall. This is what real health looks like after 50 years old today. Not extremes, not punishment, not constant struggle with food or exercise daily, just clear signals, repeated daily, guiding the body back to balance naturally. Belly fat becomes temporary again, once the threat response disappears completely inside. This is the moment most people have been missing entirely until now, because no one taught them how to make the body feel safe. Safety unlocks fat loss more reliably than effort ever could alone before. After 50, this principle matters more than any diet plan ever marketed. Once you understand this, everything else finally makes sense clearly again today. And the confusion, guilt, and frustration begin to fade away naturally over time. This knowledge gives you control without obsession or fear around food anymore. You stop chasing results and start creating conditions for health daily consistently. That shift alone changes how the body responds long-term, significantly overall. This is how belly fat stops feeling permanent after 50 years old. Not through force, but through understanding and calm consistency applied daily patiently. The body responds when it finally feels heard and respected again internally. And when that happens, fat loss becomes possible again naturally over time. This is not hope. It is biology working as designed once again. Once you align with it, results follow predictably without struggle anymore today. This is the path forward after 50 for lasting health and energy. Not perfection, just proper signals applied consistently over time, patiently daily again. That is how the body regains trust in you, again, slowly, naturally. And trusted bodies release fat instead of hoarding it defensively anymore internally. This understanding changes what aging looks like entirely for many people today. You are not declining. You are recalibrating your biology intelligently after 50. And recalibration leads to strength, not loss of vitality or confidence anymore. This is how you build sustainable energy for the years ahead confidently, by working with biology, not fighting against it every single day anymore. The body responds generously when finally given the right signals consistently over time. And that is why belly fat does not have to be permanent.